So let's talk about handles, all right? The handle for the lid is going to be just as important as any kind of detail design you put on the outside, the lid, the body, whatever it happens to be. The handle is just as important. So we gotta make sure that we pay close attention and make sure that we do it exactly, or do something that's going to go along with that theme. That's where that unity idea is, okay? I wouldn't wanna put like a big, huge monster ball on top of this because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't go with the design that I have. Do I wanna do like a rainbow or something like that? And then maybe a couple little, you know, not a rainbow, but an arc handle, and then I could put a couple of triangles on the end. Do I want to just do a post with a triangle on the end there? I think I need something a little bit heavier, and with the coils, I think this arc kind of idea that I just came up with, and honestly, I just came up with this. I did not, you know, plan this ahead. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a double coil, because this lid is pretty good size. It's fairly large. It wasn't necessarily my plan, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. You never know. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and trim off the ends so I've got nice flat edges to work with, okay? And kind of give an idea of how long that's gonna be. So I think if I go, yep, you know what, I don't need this whole thing, but I am gonna do a double coil just so I get plenty of strength between two coils rather than one coil. One coil on this I don't think would be enough. Okay, I don't think it would be strong enough. And it would also be a little bit less comfortable. Probably be strong enough once it was fired and everything like that. But I just want to make sure that I've got plenty of strength, and a double coil will definitely do that, no problem. All right, smooth that together. Make sure that we've got a good connection between our coils. Make sure it's nice and flat. All right, all these things that we did when we did the handles for our mugs. If you happen to use this kind of handle, awesome. If you didn't, no big deal. If your project is, if you're using slabs for this particular type of project or something like that, obviously you could do just slabs and then make it kind of a rounded and do the same type of handle, okay? So I think I'm gonna go with something like that, because that looks good. But before I do that, what I want to do is I want to cut out a couple of triangles that match this one here, hopefully. And I'm just kind of eyeballing what I made there. Bit more even there. There we go. Use that same slab, and I'm just gonna duplicate that by tracing over the cuts that I made previously. All right, so now what I can do, got a little bit longer there. There we go, that looks a little better. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna attach this like this, okay? And then I'm gonna put these two guys on the ends here, like so. All right, and that just kind of gives it that same theme. Now, because I'm attaching these, all right, on the outside, I'm gonna make sure that they're nice and flat. So I flatten out the edges. And then the other thing that I'm gonna do, all right, not only did I smooth the inside of this double coil so that it would be comfortable on the hands, okay, but I'm gonna go ahead and really smooth it with my rib, all right? And then I'm also gonna smooth the ends here down near the bottom where I'm planning on attaching the triangles, all right? So that gives me a nice smooth surface to attach my handle, or attach these little detail works, okay? And this is gonna give me more surface area that I can score, slip, and smooth, meaning that they're just going to be attached a little bit better, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and attach these now because it's a lot easier for me to attach them while they're here on the table rather than trying to attach it to something that is up here and gonna move around a lot, all right? Gives me just a lot more stability, and anytime I can make things easier for myself, I try to do it. That's just me. Make sure these are nice and even, make sure that the same height, all that kind of good stuff. Always double check things. You can always change things if they're not perfect. Don't be afraid to go back in and, you know, make some corrections if you need to. You know, that's again, one of those beautiful things about ceramics and clay is that you're never locked in. It never has to be exactly that, unless it's been fired or unless you've actually finished building it, okay? But we can go ahead and smooth that together now, okay? Which makes this much easier. So I'm gonna flip this over, all right? Most likely nobody will ever see this part of it, so I can go ahead and smooth this together on the back side as many places as possible. Remember, all of these techniques that we're using, all these things, all these little tips that I'm trying to convey to you guys and let you guys know about, most of these things we've already done. You've already used this technique in something else, okay? This is when we were using it for the coil base. Remember I said, anywhere you can attach it, the better. The more places you can score, slip, and smooth things together, the stronger your connection's gonna be, the stronger the bond's gonna be. So therefore, we wanna make sure that we do that any way that we can, okay? All right. I'm gonna make that kind of wide, leave those at a little bit of an angle, okay? And now, figure out exactly where I wanna place those. Okay, so I got kind of an idea, and I can even make a little mark here, just kind of where this is gonna go. And all I'm doing is marking just kind of like the outlines. I don't wanna do too much because I don't wanna mark this up too bad, okay? But now, when I get ready to attach this to here, when I score and slip, I know I'm scoring and slipping in the right place, okay? And that's a very important thing to do, because if I'm scoring and slipping in the wrong place, then I've got a bunch of rough areas that I don't want, okay? So we always want to make sure that we get score and slip where we need it to, okay? Score and slip. I always score and slip my handles just because that's what's going to be putting most of the weight, or where most of the weight's going to go. And so therefore I'm going to make sure that it's going to be as secure as I possibly can make it. Okay. So now the moment of truth, we set that on there. Okay. I'm not going to press too hard because I've got nothing to support this underneath. Perhaps maybe I should. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take this guy off of here, if I can. And place it here, so everything's nice and flat. And then that way I've got that slab. I don't know if you saw, there's a slab underneath here to help kind of give me a little support in there. But again, I'm gonna go back in, smooth this down. All right, now I can clean this up. I can make this look a lot better later on, which I will do. I'm not too concerned about that part of it. I would rather there be a stronger connection, okay? But I do want to make sure that that doesn't distract from the design that I've got here. So I'm not going to do too much as far as smoothing a lot of this into it, but I am going to eventually use that technique that we use for the pumpkins, okay? By adding a little coil in there maybe or something to give me a little extra connection, an extra bond there, so that I don't have a handle that comes off without the lid. That would be bad. Okay, almost done with this part. Okay, and now, like I said, I'm just gonna take a really, really thin coil just to fill in those little tool marks, and then I'll draw in some of the details if I cover those up, all right? But I just wanna make sure that that has a good connection. And this may require you using some other modeling tools, okay? I like this one that has this kind of flat blade on it, okay? To help smooth in large areas and also to make this transition, okay, nice and smooth. Popsicle stick works great. There's a lot of things you can use it for. However, if you have a large flat area that you're trying to make look smooth, okay, it doesn't really work that well because the tip of it is fairly small. Even the tongue depressor, okay, or art stick as they're also known, okay. And what I'm doing here with the needle tool is I'm drawing in the line of where that coil is on there. So that way I don't lose that detail, okay. And so a lot of this is a lot of tedious little finishing and that kind of stuff. And you know, you can spend hours doing that kind of thing, which I highly recommend. You know, this is where that craftsmanship grade really starts to come into play, is how clean and how neat is your design, okay? Did you take the time to smooth in a little coil here to cover up all those little tool marks? Did you not? Those are things that you have to consider, okay? While as an artist, as you know, a student of art and student of ceramics is, you know, are you taking the time to really make this nice and clean? And I do reward those people that do that. I want to make sure that, you know, you guys understand, when you get a lower grade for your craftsmanship, it's because I can tell that you didn't take the time and put the effort into it. For those of you that get a higher grade, I like to reward, you know, those people that took the time, and you can tell the difference. You know which ones I'm talking about, okay? So I've got some connection lines here on the top where I put these coils together. I'm just gonna smooth those together with my fingertips. Okay, I got a couple other little places that I need to clean up. Little paintbrush and some water. That's gonna do wonders for a lot of this stuff. Any kind of cracking that might have occurred during the connection process and that sort of thing. Okay, you notice that I did put this on upside down, okay, in anticipation of having to do this. Okay, I kind of knew that this was going to happen, so I don't worry about it because I wanted to clean this up anyway to make it look a little bit nicer. Okay, be very light with the needle tool if you're going to clean up coil work. All right, you don't want to make it too obvious that that's what's going on, but usually when you come back in with a paintbrush and some water, that will clean that up and make it look like it was an original coil all along and that sort of thing. Okay, so I'm pretty much at the stopping point as far as what I can do while it's leather hard like this, or still pretty green, it's still pretty soft. So I am going to go ahead and allow this one to dry, and I'm going to get started on my slab example. I'm going to go ahead and put my lid on here. Hopefully that fits a little bit better and I can find a little spot for it. Edges are kind of catching there. I don't know if that's going to work or not. Something tells me I made those a little bit too wide and it's a little bit on the soft side for doing this. So what I'm going to do is, instead of doing that, I would love to be able to leave that on there, but like I said, that's going to stick. I'm going to have a lot more trouble getting it off of there. I would rather it be leather hard, okay? And then I can sand down that ring on the bottom to fit the inside of this. Or I could even take off a little bit of the inside of this to make this a little bit bigger so that that ring fits on there. But the biggest thing, the most important thing for me, is to make sure that I don't have droops like this and make sure that my lid is nice and flat, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead, let that dry. I can do a little bit more cleanup here. You know, like I said, cleanup can consume you for an entire day if you're not careful. Make sure you get to a point where you're happy with what you've got, what you've made. Those kinds of things need to come into play as you're creating your own creations. But I'm gonna go ahead and put this one aside. I'll get a little time lapse going for my slab construction so you can see what that's gonna look like. But that'll be in the next video, all right? Here we go.